Oh, yes, indeed. Joining us now to discuss this matter further as we keep our focus on it is Dr. Bumi Ajayi, who is a retired civil servant. Thank you for coming on this morning.
It's my pleasure.
So, it's, of course, you've seen the outrage about what is going on, and perhaps it reminds a lot of people about what the civil service can do, or what they always talk about civil service. But looking at this entire scenario, how he got reinstated, letters written, signed, dated, were you surprised at this in the first place?
I'm pleasantly surprised.
Pleasantly surprised?
That it could happen under this government. I'm not surprised that something like this could happen in Nigeria, but it could happen under this government. That's why it's a pleasant surprise. It's also surprising. That even if people have been doing it in the past, they will have the effrontery to do it under this government, especially when they knew that the whole platform on which the whole of Nigerians voted for Buhari is this anti-corruption fight.
But how would you assess the anti-corruption fight to this time?
Yeah, there has been quite a good effort, but the conclusions...
The efforts are good?
Yes, there has been some good effort, but whether the conclusions at the end of the day will justify what the amount of noise is a different kettle of fish, because there has been so much publicity when they arrest somebody, when they made a discovery. But at the conclusion of it, the things died down. Just like Larry Lasisi was alluding. I mean, when the issue of the former Secretary of Government came to the forefront, because the Vice President took over the assignment, people believed, okay, yes, we are going to get to the root of the matter. Yes, they met, they did what they can do, but what have we had after that? You know, so if the Vice President, whom we all, apart from the President, the Vice President too, I think a lot of us have a lot of confidence in his integrity and in his transparency. And being a lawyer too, and who's been on the other side of the divide in the past.
So what's denting that integrity? Is it the system?
It's not that his integrity is being dented. What I'm just saying is that the system is such that a lot of these things never gets to its logical conclusion.
So what do you think will come out of this Maina's case? Will it also follow the path of inconclusive
I will
cases?
only plead with you men of the media, and even all other Nigerians. Let us continue to follow these matters to their conclusions.
I mean, how much following can you do? I mean, the House of Reps, you can see how everybody is visibly clearly upset about
yes.
Maina's return.
Yes.
EFCC has not arrested him. He's in Nigeria. So how well would you say the fight against corruption is for this government?
You see, the fight against corruption is a fight we all must fight. You cannot leave it for Buhari or leave it for a particular person. And I want to thank the press. I want to thank the lot of people out there who have been calling attention to some of these things. Because in the past, when we hear anything, the man will just stroll into office, probably will have transferred him to another ministry, and NTA will never carry it.
Speaking about
Yes.
ministries,
Yes.
you know, you've been in civil service,
Yes.
you understand how it works.
Yes.
So we expect, we'd like you to give us maybe a bird's eye view, or maybe open the door so we could see how it works. For instance, is it possible that Mr. Maina will return, be reinstated, redeploy from one department to another, takes promotion exam, promoted, becomes a director without the head of service knowing?
It's not possible. You see, let me explain it to you.
Please do.
The Civil Service Commission does interview employs you.
They don't employ you?
No, the Civil Service Commission.
Okay.
That is their primary, especially senior officers.
Yeah.
That's the whole job of the Civil Service Commission. Once you are employed, your whole career path, everything that happens to you goes to Ministry of Establishment. Even when you go on leave, a staff will be informed, they will gazette it, and things like that. So everything that happens to you. So Ministry of Staff cannot deny knowledge in this matter.
The HOS?
No, the Ministry of Establishment.
Okay. Ministry of Establishment.
They cannot deny knowledge.
They also know.
They must know. Because the man's file and every other thing that happens in this career must go through them. Okay? And you see, when the man absconded, I think that's the aspect of it that is intriguing.
On the 21st of February 2013.
When he absconded, a proper report was lodged, and he was dismissed by the civil service. Okay. And by the time he gets to that level, after that level of officer, not a driver, no, I'm not dismissing a driver, I'm not dismissing a clerk.
I think it was what,
I have a level
on SGL 16?
That's right, level 16. So you can't just wake up one bad day and say, I dismiss you, level 16. It never happens. You will have query, you will have, but in this own case, is abandonment. And so it's a straightforward case, and they dismissed him. Now, for him to come back, the process too is so arduous that it didn't take one day. And you see, they kept on telling us a story, which it's a pity that a staff has not spoken all along.
So staff, they should be speaking on this matter.
A staff ought to speak, because a staff has the files of every senior staff. Every senior staff, a staff has the file. A staff ought to have spoken, but for whatever reasons, a staff is not speaking. And all of them are trying to shield a staff out of this, because all the records are with a staff, they know. Okay. Now, you now start a story to say that his parent ministry did an inquiry or something like that and exonerated me and things like that, and the Attorney General gives advice. Attorney General does not instruction. No. You see, the Attorney General is there to give legal advice to all the president. Even when they are sitting in ESCO, in any ESCO, the Attorney General or whoever is in charge of sits next to the governor just to give caution, just to give advice, not to dictate to the governor or to the president.
So the civil service in this case, they could have discarded the advice of the AGF. In
actual fact, I don't even know what they took to the AGF. You see, the AGF, you see, law is a very interesting profession. It's what you give to them. What information did the ministry that says it carries out an investigation tell the AGF? And so if it gets to the public glare, the AGF will walk out free. I can imagine that. Because there must have been a record that says we carried out investigation, this man is not guilty. And so if the man is not guilty, the AGF is okay, go and reinstate him. And the man will be right, because he's basing his advice on what you told him.
So that due process shouldn't have even started in the first place, because
because the man was dismissed.
Because we see a reinstatement letter. We've seen a reinstatement letter signed by one Salisu, one of the directors.
We'll come to that.
He signed for whom? You know, you're always directed in the ministry. That's the whole logic of when you get a letter from the civil service, they have been directed. Then they will say, signed for permanent secretary, signed for honorable commissioner, signed for this. So whoever signs is just signing for somebody. Whom is he signing for?
So if we look at the hierarchy now, in the Ministry of Interior, we have the minister first, and then we have...
The minister is the most senior person. It's liable.
And then we have permanent secretaries.
What staff means. Establishment.
Okay.
And then you've got the permanent secretaries, and then you have the directors.
Yes.
So that's just 2 levels below.
Yes.
You would expect that the minister himself would have known this.
He knows. You cannot deny. If he says he doesn't know, then it's not worthy of his seat. It's not worthy of his seat. If you as a minister, and a serious matter like that will happen in your ministry, and you say you don't know, then you don't want to be the minister. Pure and simple.
Okay. Could you also take us further, because we understand that he sat for promotion exam.
All those ones, that is where outside a staff should talk.
So it's still a stab on this?
A staff should talk until the Ministry of Establishment talks and give us the graphic details of their files. Because the file of every senior staff is with a staff. It's with the Ministry of Establishment. So the Ministry of Establishment should tell us graphically what is in this man's file at every stage in the process and at every date.
How much of their silence will rub off on the government's fight against corruption?
It's a very dangerous silence, and I'm surprised, why they are silent. I'm surprised, because at the end of the day, you see, they keep all the records of senior staff. They have all the records. Even when you go and leave, a staff has it. The records. You see, the office of the head of service, you know, the head of service is the head of service, that is, or the head of all civil servants. And so the office of the head of service too should talk.
So they're not under any obligation to, I mean, who can compel them, establishment, to begin to voice out?
Let me explain that thing to you. The head of service is the head of the civil servants. Office of Secretary of Government is a political office. You see, over time, these people that occupies the office of Secretary of Government have decided to take more powers than is real their job. As Secretary of the Government, their primary assignment is to take records at council meetings, implement council conclusions, send memos to ministers. They don't have a direct dealing with a permanent secretary, no direct one. If you want to talk, if they want to have any dealing with a permanent secretary, you go through the head of service. It is the head of service that's the head of all civil servants. And so the head of service must talk.
So even if people in the office of the head of service sign letters on her behalf and do all of those, she still must know something
She's
about
liable.
It. Okay, that letter that we saw, if we could just